13 mitigator Ford Fusion. I'd like to thank you for listening to Let's Talk Racing.tv.
Driver of the number 5 Kiker Motorsports Camry. Welcome to Let's Talk Racing TV.
With Rockingham Speedway. Thanks for listening to Let's Talk Racing.
I'm Tony Peter, driver of the number 17 Toyota in the NASCAR Camp World Truck Series, and you're listening to Let's Talk Racing.
Hey guys, I'm Daytona 500 winner Trevor Bain, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Racing.
Hi, this is Dylan Smith. I'd like to thank you for listening to Let's Talk Racing.
Hi, I'm Amber Colvin. I'd like to thank you for watching Let's Talk Racing.
I need to redo that. Welcome to Let's Talk Racing. Got Jack Dodson, Al Pearce, and myself, Roger Brehm, hanging out here tonight.
How come all those names on the list of hosts?
I
know.
That's why I said I told you I need to redo that one.
I mean, I'm not getting paid all that much anyway. You would think.
I tell you.
I think I'd get a little bit of attention.
Hey, when I take and post it all, you always have your name there.
Be sure to spell it right.
Pierce.
You're right, yeah. Donkeys fly.
And I usually use Al instead of Albert, even though that's what you got it in Facebook. But anywho, so what'd you think of the racing this past weekend?
Terrific, great show Saturday with Nationwide, and a really, really, really good show Sunday with Cup. Given my choice of watching either one of them again, I kind of wish the Nationwide race had been 500 laps.
Yeah,
because it was great. Whether NASCAR just lucked into it, or whether the combination of the new Gen 6 car and the new grooves, the higher grooves that came in at Bristol, Sunday was a terrific show. Best race of the year, no question about it.
The cars looked like they were passing really good too.
Yeah.
They got everything they wanted.
Yep.
As far as that was concerned.
Yeah, it's a high-speed track. Traffic comes into play very quickly, and particularly in the Saturday race, Kyle Busch started 14th or 15th, I believe, and I stood on pit road and watched him, and it seemed like every time he came by in the first 10 laps, he had passed at least one person. He got to the front very quickly. He's an absolute master in traffic. It was really fun to watch him pass guys high, low, in the middle, splitting cars, getting to the front. And once he got there, he gave Kyle Larson a pretty good lesson on how to come off a corner in one position and suddenly be where the other kid wanted to be. So
yeah.
It's a good race Saturday.
It reminded me a lot like at Richmond toward the end of the race. When your tires start wearing out, you have to go to the high groove because nothing's going to work down low if you got old tires on there. Most of the time, wasn't Bristol usually a low groove track?
Yes.
Yeah, but now they've ground or polished or done something to the
the top groove now. Now everybody wants to run the top groove. You get more momentum up there. Yeah. You got to really your car has to really be good to get to the bottom.
You saw a lot of people, particularly on Sunday. I noticed that Kyle Busch, or Casey Kane, I guess it was, worked on Denny Hamlin high for a long time, and just ran him high, and finally got around him. You might not have seen that with the old Bristol.
Yeah.
You might not have seen that with the old car. So at least for one Sunday, and it's too bad because the crowd was just awful, pitiful crowd. But at least for one Sunday, they did everything right, and it was a good show.
I noticed also in there that with the tires, they're trying to double stint the right side tires on these cars. They're doing a lot of left side changes and double stinting the right side, trying to go 2 runs on the right hand side, and it bit Jeff Gordon and it bit Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
You can't do that. I just don't see where that's going to work because it melted the bead on both of those tires.
I think Jamie McMurray also had a tire issue. I don't remember what happened to Denny with like 5 to go. He had a tire going down, maybe.
I think so.
But yeah, you're right. They were trying to run probably a little longer than they should have on right sides, and that's one thing that Kenny Francis told us in the media center. He said, "When I come up here, I am very conservative with my tire calls. I'd rather err on the side of being, 20 laps early than err on the side of being 2 laps too late. Because if you're early, at least you're not going to wad up your race car.
Yeah.
If you're a lap or 2 late stopping, you got a good chance of what happened to Gordon and Matt Kenseth's poor guy was in the middle of, had no place to go, had absolutely no recourse. He just it took out 2 top 5 cars right there.
Yeah.
And then when Jimmy went out, there was another top 5 car, and at the end Hamlin went out. So the top 5 might have been altogether different if those guys had stayed on there. I don't know that. I may be wrong, Jack. I don't know that Kurt Busch had a car that would ordinarily have run 4th if all the other guys were still in it.
I don't think so. I think he had a good car.
Best he's had.
And he had a good run, but I don't think he would have been in that position had those other guys not been. Had they been there and been involved in the race.
But Kyle Busch was up front pretty much all day. Casey was up front pretty much all day. Keselowski was real close to being up front pretty much all day. Busch, and not quite so much Kurt Busch. Some others had not been up front all day, and they got there at the end. And really, the only thing that matters is the end. Yeah. It doesn't matter where you were after lap 50 or 100 or 350. It's where you are at 500.
Yeah, there was a lot of people. I was actually getting direct questions off Facebook about why, do you like the short tracks or the big tracks? And everybody wants to see more short track action because it's not everybody just playing follow the leader on the big tracks.
Actually, you can follow the leader at Bristol, but you really got to be hauling the mail to follow him.
You better haul it and stay with it.
Yeah, and when you start laughing people after 15 laps, and you start having to work traffic, it's a great show. I've told people consistently all my life, if I had to buy a ticket, which thank goodness I don't, never have, but if I had to buy a ticket for any racetracks, it'd be Bristol and Martinsville, no question about it. And they got California this weekend, which has the possibility of just being awful, and then they come to Martinsville the second Sunday in April, and that'll be fun. So at least one of the next 2 races will be really, really good.
Well, I definitely plan to be out there at Martinsville. I haven't heard if Crystal's going to join us or not, though.
Oh, I want to go to Martinsville bad. I got to go. I'm in the need for some racing fumes. I
think Langley Speedway's media day is Saturday, maybe next Saturday.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
It's the 30th.
Okay, Easter Saturday.
Yeah, it's the 30th.
Easter Sunday Saturday.
Yeah, it's the 30th because I'll be out of town during that time. So
okay. But Denny and Logano gave everybody something to talk about for a couple of weeks. The girl, what's her name?
The D girl?
Oh, Danica.
She
stunk it up.
I thought we did good last week. We didn't say anything about her.
Well, people want to know, and if they missed it, she finished 28th or 29th or something like that. 5 laps down. But she's getting better. She's going to be a star. At least she's getting paid like a star.
Yeah, Darrell Waltrip thinks she's great.
Oh, I know he does. I think
Darrell Waltrip thinks she just.
Darrell wants to go out with her. Darrell also thinks the Gen 6 cars are the greatest thing in the world. So.
Yeah, her boyfriend keeps staying well ahead of her.
Yeah, well, he finished 16th. She finished 28th. So, yeah. She's 5 down. That's not good.
I mean, I feel bad for Stuart Haas, because him and Tony, Ryan and Tony, they run real good. I mean, you always hear everybody say you can put anybody in a good car and they should do good.
But the thing about it is, whether she does good or not, she's still bringing the money in. So
yeah,
it don't matter.
Well, let's see. This race she didn't wreck anything, did she?
No. When you're running that slowly, I guess you don't really lose control very much.
It's a lot safer too, running at those speeds too. That was another thing we were talking about, was the safety issues too. The short tracks are good for action, and you don't have 200-mile-an-hour crashes.
Well, I asked Michael Waltrip and Mike Harmon about Bristol, about the wrecks they've had.
And they did a special on that before the race.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that was unbelievable.
The worst wreck I've never seen in person, because I got there the next day, was Mikey in the Busch race 20 years ago?
About 20 years ago.
That just, they were picking pieces of the race car up off the racetrack, looking down in there somewhere. There's either a body or a human being alive, and it was probably, arguably, the worst wreck I've ever seen. The worst single car wreck I've ever seen. And Mike Harmon's wasn't a whole lot about the same.
Yeah, Mike's.
But that car just come apart.
Everything
it just ripped apart, and he was sitting on the track.
Yeah,
sitting on the track, just waiting. And Mike Harmon got hit again after he hit the wall.
Yeah, I think Johnny Sauter hit him, but Mikey just hit the crossover gate at the worst possible angle, and there are those who claim that contact probably caused him to be kind of the goofy guy he is. So you never know. I know that Tommy Cherry at Langley had a very similar crash at Langley Speedway. Hit the crossover gate like that, and it hurt him up pretty bad too. So
it put the engine all the way inside the driver's area.
Well, at Daytona a month ago, they put the engine in the grandstand almost.
Yeah.
When Larson hit the crossover gate, so they got to do something about crossover gates, and I'm sure they will. They generally learn from their mistakes, and God, if they don't, they're gonna kill somebody.
Yeah.
So anyway.
It is what it is.
So who we got next? We got Jared Irvin.
Got Jared Irvan, who's Ernie Irvan's son.
Okay.
We'll be talking with him, and then following him will be Coleman Pressley.
Okay.
Robert Presley's son. What is this, father and son type day thing here?
Well, his grandfather, Bob Presley, was a long ago late model star that turned into the Busch Series.
Right.
And then Robert became a very accomplished. Was it Nationwide? No, it was still Busch.
Still Busch Series
back then. So he is Coleman's a third generation racer, and I think maybe Ernie Irvan's father may have raced, and Ernie raced obviously. So maybe we got 2 third generation drivers coming up here soon.
Cool.
Well, Coleman is going to be driving the K&N race this week at Greenville Pickens. And he's going to be driving for X Team Racing. That's one of the reasons why I've been talking to them back and forth anyway. And he's a guy that I think can drive a race car. He just hadn't had to brake.
Yeah.
And he got a pole in the Busch Series or in the Nationwide Series somewhere, and I can't remember exactly where it was.
Coleman did?
Coleman got the pole. I can't remember where it was.
I would guess somewhere like Hickory maybe, or it must have been recently.
Yeah,
it was a Nationwide instead of a Busch race.
Yeah, it was a Nationwide race, and I don't remember exactly where it was.
Go to Wikipedia there, Roger, on your little magic machine.
Kicking it. Let's see. You know what? We can ask him when he gets on the show.
Well, actually, it says pole 0. So that might be him right there.
No, we got Jared first. Irvan.
Speaker first.
Oh, okay.
Speaker.
Let's talk racing.
Hello?
Hello, is this Jared?
Yep.
How you doing, Jared?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing real good. This is Jack Dodson. Got Al Pearce and Roger Brehm with us. How you been? How's things going with you this year?
It's been going good pretty right now. I'm just running a legend car around North Carolina.
Are you going to be doing anything other than the Legends cars?
Yep, the first race for my super late model is March 30th at Hickory Motor Speedway.
Okay, I saw you last year at Southern National when you run the super late model there.
Yeah, I kind of got cut short there when the motor locked up, so.
All right, well, tell us a little bit about your background and where all you've been racing and everything about yourself.
Well, I started at 5 years old in a quarter midget. Then I moved up to a Ford Focus midget at 11. And then now I moved into the legend car a little bit while I was racing the Focus. And then I moved to a super late model.
All right, do you drive your own super late model or are you driving for somebody else?
Drive my own.
Okay.
How old are you?
15.
Okay.
Little youngster.
Well, they're all young compared to you, Roger.
I'm young compared to you. What are you talking about?
Jared, tell us obviously you're from a racing family. Your dad won a bunch of races, had a couple of bad accidents that shortened his career somewhat. Do you have, it's a question I ask a lot of young drivers, do you have a schedule or timetable for how long you want to be in late models, how long you want to be in trucks, how long you want to be in nationwide? Do you have a time goal to reach where you want to be?
Not really. I mean, we're going to try and do all we can do right now because this year, to do much, we're going to have a sponsor. But we're going to try and run next year if we can secure something and go from there.
But I would assume your ultimate goal is to run Cup like your dad did. I assume that's your long-term goal.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay. There are a great number of young drivers, I guess some of them about your age, who are already in the K&N series. Is that something you've thought about or looked at, or is that down the road a year or two?
Probably a year down the road. I've just started racing a stock car. I mean, I've only run 3 races, so not quite ready to move into a K&N car yet.
Okay. I also assume that your dad and your mom are probably keeping you a little bit grounded. They're not going to let you go too fast too early. Is that safe to say they're kind of watching out for you?
Yeah, don't want to go too fast because then you end up moving through the series too quick and never end up being competitive in all of them.
All right, well, how many super late model races do you plan on running this year?
We plan on running Hickory and then Southern National, and then right after that, I think it's South Boston, and then just try and go from there, see if we can get a sponsor.
Now, is your dad very much involved with your team as far as being with you every week, or?
Yeah, me and him drive the truck to the races every time, and he works on the car, and we try to work together.
Now, you're at age 15. You're in high school, I assume. You're probably 10th or 9th or 10th grade, something like that.
Yep, 9th grade.
Okay. Do kids in your school or kids in your classes, do they know what you do? Now, I'm sure they probably know who you are and they know who your dad is, but do they know that you're also a racer? And if they do, is it a big deal to them like it is to you?
Most of them know. I mean, there's a couple people in my school that actually race legend cars, and they don't really seem like they just kind of seem like it's just another sport.
But when you come in on a Monday after a race weekend, are they all asking, well, how did you do? Did you wreck? Did you win? Do they kind of ask you what kind of weekend you had?
Not some just kind of let it go.
Well, you got to get them. You got to get them to be bigger fans than that. you got to give out some hats and T-shirts and make them become fans. Then they'll be asking you, "How did you do?" Heck, they might show up and watch a race some weekend. That's what you got to do. Got to give stuff away. Ask your dad about that. He knows about giving stuff away.
Yep.
Okay. Let me ask you one last question, and I'll let Jack take over again. Your dad survived a couple of pretty bad wrecks, and I would think that before he let you race, he made sure that you had good equipment, good safety equipment, and that you knew what you were doing. Have you ever noticed a time when he became really nervous or really scared or a little bit twitchy when you were driving because he knows what can happen?
I mean, the first practice of the late model, he was like kind of edgy, and we just make sure we got the best safety equipment that we can get, and try and get the best racing equipment that we can get. And he usually is fine, and just the first race for late model, he was a little bit nervous, but after that, I mean, he hasn't really been nervous at all.
Now, what car number do you run?
28.
That's what I thought. Okay, that's pretty obvious how that came about. So,
now I watched your dad down at Southern National, and he gets into it when you're racing. He's really trying to make sure that you have everything you need, and he works hard getting all your tires ready and everything. I saw him working hard down there.
Yeah, I mean, wish we could have raced that weekend. I mean, but we sure worked pretty hard, and we were really fast on that during practice that day. I mean, we were probably the fastest car out there. But I mean, everything happens for a reason.
So you said the motor locked up on you?
Excuse me?
You said the motor locked up on you on the car?
Yeah, went into turn one and kicked the oil pump belt off.
All right, who builds your engines?
Hamner.
All right, so now you're talking about going to next year running this year running a few super late model races. What was it like to go to Southern National with the high banks and everything at Southern National for the first time?
I mean, that place is really fun. I mean, it just, you go down to the corner and it pretty much sticks, and you carry a lot of speed through the corner, and you can pick up the gas before the center of the corner. It's amazing.
So you had a lot of fun while you were there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to go back there. I mean, it's like, that place is really cool.
Well, people always say that if you can get around a flat track, you've got a real good car feel, you've got a good car control. Have you raced on any tracks that are basically either absolutely flat, Jared, or fairly flat, or they've all been banked a little bit?
I mean, with the Legend car, I ran at Charlotte on the quarter mile on the front straightaway.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's pretty flat.
Really flat.
Yeah. Did you like that? You like racing at Charlotte?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real good time, and just go out there and have fun. It's more about having fun in that series.
It's also close to home. You don't have to travel so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's 20 minutes away from our house, and go there every Tuesday night and have fun.
There you go.
Did you run the big Legends race down there last year?
Yep, and ended up fifth.
Ah, cool. We didn't hear about that.
Now, you mentioned some other kids in your school have raced Legends or raced Bandoleros or whatever. Who else might we have heard of from your little group that races down your way?
Ryan McIntosh, and the other one is Dylan Faggart.
Oh, okay.
Those two go to my school.
Okay. Now, are you better than they are, or are they better than you are?
I don't race in the same class as either of them, so
Oh, okay.
not really sure.
Okay. Do you have a fan club?
I have a Facebook page fan club.
Okay. That's how you get sponsors right there. You go on your Facebook page and you tell them how good you are and ask them to help you out and say, hey, when I get to be rich and famous like my dad, you can be along. So, yeah, you're never too young to start looking for sponsors.
Nope.
So does your dad go out and help you get try to line up sponsors? Or I know he was looking for some stuff at Richmond last year.
I mean, he's went out and tried, and we haven't found anything yet, but we're working really hard trying to.
Who do you look up to in the racing that's with the drivers that are out there now?
I look up to Kyle Busch. I mean, he can really drive the car.
I'm waiting for when somebody's going to start saying something about Kyle Larson, looking up to him.
I would think if I was a young driver about Jared's age, I would be thinking Kyle Larson's the guy that I'm going to be racing against in 4 or 5 years.
Kyle Larson is done really good just starting out, and he came from the midget background. I ran midgets for a few years, so I hope that helps me out.
Okay, yeah, he, you talk about guys who've come up to Cup from that area, that series. Obviously, Jeff Gordon was a midget open wheel guy. Tony Stewart was and still is. Casey Kane was a midget driver. So a lot of those guys, I think J.J. Yaley used to run open wheel midgets a lot. I think those guys, and if you're anywhere near at your age as good as they were, you got a pretty good future ahead of you.
Yeah, I mean, went out there and won the championship last year. I think we won every race but one at Ace Speedway.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, and the other guy, Ricky Stenhouse. I did not know this until recently. Ricky Stenhouse was an outstanding midget driver down in Mississippi when Jack Roush discovered him. So there's another guy who's got the same background that you're coming through. So hopefully it'll work out for you.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Jared, tell us, thank your sponsors or thank you whoever's been helping you, so we can give them a shout out while you're here on the phone.
I mean, I just want to thank my dad and my mom and Simpson and Rejoice Heating, Maxima, and CNR Radiators.
Okay.
You got a little bit of sponsorship there.
Yeah, mostly product sponsorship. I mean, CNR gave us a radiator, and LaJoy has been really good to us, giving us seats, because those are like really expensive. And yeah, and Simpson, they've helped us out too with head neck restraints and helmets and stuff. So.
All right, well, good. Well, we'll be keeping up with you this year, this coming year. So keep us abreast of what you're doing.
Thank you.
And go do your homework.
All right.
He's finish him up with a mean thought. Send him up doing
it's
his
not a
homework.
mean thought. He's got
You got to do it anyway.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
All right. See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Got to do your homework.
Hey, even when you're racing up in the big boy series, you got to do homework. Didn't get much of a break.
Let's talk racing.
Hey, it's Coleman Pressley.
How you doing, Coleman?
Was he supposed to call in tonight?
Yeah, Coleman's calling in tonight.
Oh, okay. Good thing I put it on the notice then.
How's it going, Coleman? You know who this is, right?
Oh, yeah.
I got Al Pearce and Roger Brehm here with us, too. How's everything going with you tonight?
No, not too bad. Not too bad. Just heading home from work.
Had a long day at work?
Oh, man, just really digging along.
All right, are you getting the car ready for this weekend?
Yep. I had to work a little extra hard. I'm driving it.
Yeah, I heard you was driving it. Have you got Walleye working hard on the car?
No, he isn't working with us no more.
Oh, he's not working with you no more?
No, he went to Stewart House.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's working in the teardown. He's made it big again.
Oh, okay. He's in with the big boys now.
He be doing Cliff
Right.
over there.
All right. Well, for those who don't know, give us a little background on Coleman Pressley.
Well, I think I'm just about like any other race car driver. You know, started when I was 6 years old and moved up through the ranks I feel like pretty quickly through racing cars and late models, and did some nationwide. And unfortunately, like a lot of kids these days, haven't really found a money tree growing, so kind of holding back on the finances to race more.
But you really want to get back in the car to drive more than you are wanting to be the crew chief on that X racing car, right?
I tell you, I've learned that crew chiefing's fun until you go to the racetrack and you watch everyone else race, and then you hate it. So definitely racing's more of a passion, and it's definitely not as much stressful.
Are you going to be running any more races this year with that car, or what are your plans for this year?
I'll be honest with you, I have no idea. I didn't know until Tuesday at 4 o'clock that I was going to get to run this weekend. So it's been a flash to get it together. So I really don't know. I'm still working at X Team, crew chiefing their cars, setting cars up. You know, trying to find drivers to race, and also 21 races of the year I'm spotting for Johanna Long.
Oh, okay. Well, good.
I got it all covered. I'm crew chief, driver, and spotter now. So all I got to do is learn how to change tires. I can do it all.
So are you gonna be doing any late models this year or anything like that?
Actually, me and my dad were just talking a little bit ago. I got the invitation for the Denny Hamlin Foundation race, so it looks like I'm going to come run that race.
Cool.
So pretty excited about that, and I'm sure I'll dab in and do the Martinsville race and maybe a couple of UARA races.
All right. Well, have you? At one time, I heard something about you might try to go do the Cars Pro Cup Series too.
Yep. Oh yeah, I forgot about that too. I bought a car from Woody Howard, and actually from Jim Dean. It was Woody Howard's old car. And I'm going to run the first race at Dillon, the second race at Hickory, and the third race at Kingsport. So there's about 5 races I can do there.
Well, that's good. Then you have a car and you got everything ready to go for that.
Well, I got a car. As far as it being ready to go, not so much.
Oh, it's not so much ready, huh?
No. I was on the phone with my dad here before I called you, and he says he's bringing it down to Charlotte and let me finish it. So we got a week and a half to get ready for Dillon and still ain't got a motor in it.
Who does your motors?
It's a spec motor from Randy Dorton.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
We got it sent off last week, and he's supposed to have it done for us on Monday, so we'll get it together and piece it together best we can and try to win the first race.
There you go.
Well, I heard you had gotten a car from Woody Howard. Mike Herman wasn't it somewhere Mike Herman was involved in that too?
Mike Dorn, yeah, he was the one that I bought it from, or I guess the middleman, whatever you want to call it.
Uh-huh.
So, I don't know. He said the last race it ever ran in, it won at Langley, so he said no pressure.
Oh, okay. Well, there is some pressure there because Woody Howard, he had some good years.
I know. He's one of the guys like, Clay Rogers and Shane Houseman and Mark McFarland that really made the Pro Cup what it was. So I'm excited kind of about bringing the next wave of competitors in and trying to make it as big as it once was.
Well, it needs to be picked up some. That series it needs a few more cars, and it would be good to get you out there and get you some experience in those cars.
Exactly. It's such a great series, and Jack McNally from Cars Pro Cup, he's really putting 110% effort into it this year. And raising the purse and trying to cut the cost down so these teams can afford to race again. And, he's doing a really good job. I mean, the best thing you can compare it to is the K&N series, and it's the same car, but he's really trying his hardest to make it cheaper to run, and so far it seems like he's doing it.
Okay, well, and other than that, you're just going to be just doing the crew chief thing. Who is the driver over there that you work with the most at X Team Racing?
Well, last year we had Daniel Suarez from Mexico, and over the off season he got picked up by Revolution Racing to drive for Diversity. So right now we really don't have a driver full time. I mean, obviously, as tough as the times are, these drivers are kind of hard to come by. So they're taking applications every day for anyone that wants to have an opportunity to drive a pretty good car.
Well, have you put your name in the hat?
My name's been in the hat, and I've been trying to get it to the top, but for some reason I can't ever seem to get it all the way out.
Got heavy weights on it, keeps it to the bottom.
Now your dad is he owns Kingsport.
Yep, Kingsport Speedway. They're 2 weeks into their season, and just like last year, they're drawing some of the best car counts around, and definitely some of the best racing. It's a unique track. I think it's the only concrete track that's in the Will All-American Series, so it's different, and it's a tough place, and he has a lot of fun with it.
Do you race down there very often, or?
Well, he won't let me race on his weekly show. Conflict of interest is what he calls it.
Oh, okay, I can understand that.
That sucks.
What's good is the UARE Series goes there twice, and then the Pro Cup Series is going there twice, so that at least gives me 4 chances to go. And it doesn't hurt to have a little test track either.
That's right.
You got that right. So now you were the under the driver development program at JTG.
Yep.
Whatever happened to all that situation there with them, and was it just a money thing that you got? You were let go off that deal.
I think it was. Right in the time I was coming in was when the economy was going bad, and I mean, I don't have no hard feelings. Actually, I hung out with Tab last weekend at Bristol and talked to him for an hour or two. So even to this day, he really tries to push Coleman Pressley, and he's constantly trying to sell sponsorships. So I might not be listed as a development driver no more, but if there's ever an opportunity comes up, I mean, I feel like Tab would step up to the plate and let me drive his car.
Have you heard from anybody in the Nationwide Series or anything like that that would help get you a ride there or anything like that?
Well, there's always talk, but until your name's sitting on the roof and you're unloading there at the racetrack, I've come to the realization it's a tough deal. I don't want to get my hopes up, but every week I'm out there talking to someone, and people are interested. They know I can drive, and I feel like I do a good job. It's just they're in a tough time, so just gotta wait for the right opportunity on both ends.
Coleman, I don't know that I've met you as a driver. I have written for magazines and newspapers. I used to watch your grandfather race all the time back in the 70s and late 60s, and of course I watched your father drive. Was it almost preordained that you too would be a driver? Was that almost never any question about it, that you would follow what they did?
I think it wasn't set in stone, but when you do your first race when you're 2 weeks old, it's just kind of something that you do and something that and it didn't really hit me until I was about 10 or 11 years old, and I tried to play baseball. I realized I wasn't any good, so the only thing I was ever any good at was racing, so I figured I better stick to that. But, whether my parents never forced it on me. Actually, they'd probably rather if I played golf, in all honesty. But it's something I'm passionate about, and it's something I love, and it's something I want to do the rest of my life.
Okay. So if you had gone another direction, they would have been cool with that, but they're also cool with what you're doing now.
Absolutely. My parents, I'm fortunate to have two great parents, and they'll support me whether I want to go out and play golf, if I want to be the next Justin Bieber, if I want to try to go beat Jimmy Johnson. They're behind me 110%, and that's cool to have. So they've given me everything I've ever needed, but also made me work for it, too.
Now, how old are you now?
I'm 24 years old.
Oh, you're still young.
Oh, yeah.
I got shoes older than that.
I tell you, I don't feel young anymore when I'm racing against 16-year-old kids.
Actually, my daughter is 24, and she is in college at Radford, Virginia, and she's an equestrian. She's a horse lady, so she's a one-horsepower person, you're as much horsepower as you can get, but you're about the same age as my daughter.
Hold on. Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I had a really tough deal. We were testing a driver out about 2 months ago, and he was 17 years old. He kept calling me sir, so that's what I figured.
That
Yeah.
always sucks when that happens.
Yeah. Well, listen, tell us about, give us as many sponsors as you can, name as many people who help you, give everybody a good shout out here while we still got you on the air.
Well, I never thank everyone enough who's got me to where I am, but obviously my mom and dad's been a huge supporter, and my dad's Celebrity Hot Dogs. We've also had a lot of help from Jasper Engines over my entire career. It really dates back to my dad's involvement with them in the Cup Series.
Oh, yeah.
Pepsi Cola, Levitt Race Car Products. I mean, those are the main people that's really helped me out along the way.
All right, now, when you go, you're still living with Logano, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so when you go home tonight, you going to help Logano learn how to handle Denny Hamlin?
I tell you, all we've done is play PlayStation 2, the old sprint car game.
Yeah, no, what's going to be fun is when they go to the Denny Hamlin Foundation race, they're all going to be racing against each other.
I know. I don't know who's going to be a bigger rival, me or Joey and Denny.
Well, it's all for charity, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just looking forward to racing them. Me and him have not raced together since we were 8 years old, unless it was on iRacing or PlayStation.
That's pretty cool.
I'm trying to get him to rent one of my cars, so at least I can set it up a little bit slower, so it makes me look better.
There you go.
Well, listen, thanks for calling in. We and you're racing this coming weekend, is that right?
This Saturday night at
Greenville Pickens.
Speedway.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you can follow along at NASCARHometracks.com.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, it's been good talking to you, man. We appreciate you calling. Appreciate you taking time to call up here. I know you're on your way home from work.
Well, I appreciate it. Anytime. Let me know. I'd love to call and talk anytime.
Well, I appreciate you, getting back with me like you did. So I'll talk with you again soon.
Sounds good, man. Talk to you soon. Tell Lee I said hello.
I'll do that, man. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
I see you guys.
There you go.
All right, Roger, do your magic over there.
Do my magic. Ding, 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 ding. We should get him to sweet talk Joey into getting on here.
I'm working on that.
You're working on it. I'd like to get his dad on too sometime. Because he was. I'm trying to remember. We may have actually had him on here because when he was Robert was doing some. I know. It's not even 45 yet. When he was running
we
some.
need all the time we can get with Monty.
I know. He was running some of the nationwide cars from Robert Richardson.
I talked to Robert several times when I go around. I go around to those big late model races, and Robert's he is into it. I mean, he loves it. He loves helping Coleman. I just wish Coleman could get a ride where he could prove himself. All right, tell us some more about the Bristol since we've got a couple seconds.
This is a great show.
Hey, Monty, this is Roger. All right, pretty good. I'm going to put you on hold. We'll switch over to the main line. That was a quick talk about Bristol, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got him.
You told me to do magic, so I did.
This hit speaker?
Push his button first, now speaker, because he's on hold.
Hey, Monty, you there?
Yes.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm good. It's good to hear your voice.
Yeah, I hadn't seen you in a while.
I don't know if I'd ever heard anybody say that to Al before.
Yeah. Let me do some introductions here. Monte Dutton and I have known each other for probably 50 years, but we didn't know we knew each other until maybe 20 years ago.
All right.
Monty is in Clinton, South Carolina, where I went to college years ago. He is one of, and I say this in all truthfulness, Monty is one of the best writers of anything you'll ever find, whether it's NASCAR or books or Carolina Panthers or Clinton High Red Devils or whatever it is. Monty is an absolutely marvelous writer. He's an equally talented singer-songwriter, and if he had his guitar close by, he'd probably give us a song. And Monty, what we wanted to do on this show, we got about 20 minutes. We wanted to ask you if you would mind giving us your observations on several subjects. Now, one of which is you were among the people who used to go to Darlington when the Southern 500 was on Labor Day. That's how far back you go. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. If you don't mind, and believe me, I trust your judgment, give us your take on what NASCAR has become versus what it was when you were going to Darlington as a kid on Labor Day Monday.
Well, the first time that I went to Darlington on Labor Day, now in those days, I was one of many times I was one of the most unhappy people on Labor Day because I had to practice football. And so many of my trips to Darlington were at the Rebel 400 and 500 in spring, but when I could, I went on Labor Day. And it certainly was entirely different from what it was today. There's something that I often take umbrage at when people talk about racing then and racing now, because there's so much praise and glorification of the sport today. Back in those days, a driver would lap the field. Ned Jarrett won by 14 laps. What they don't tell you is if they put these rules in 1969, nobody would get lapped either. Also, the level of competition is greater because the cars are more durable today. There are many more blown engines and things of that nature. But racing was just a visual experience. To me, was more exciting then. Now, part of that is because we romanticized the events of our youth. But in those days, the first, I remember when Buddy Baker won in a Dodge Daytona, and Cale Yarborough's car jumped up on top of the inside guardrail. Those days, the cars, it was just more fun. It almost, watching the cars go through the turn at Darlington in those days was kind of like watching a dirt track now. In the days of bias ply tires and things, the drivers wrestled cars. Many of them, they didn't. This was before they even had power steering. Race car drivers in those days were big burly men like Buddy and Cale Yarborough and David Pearson. And today they're more like jockeys in the and so it's a whole different type of style. Now I think racing is great today just as it was back then, but also it was the drivers in those days were working class heroes. It's funny because just today I was at the Presbyterian baseball game. PC played Wofford this afternoon, and I was talking about a driver that I was talking with a man who was there, who was from the town where a driver who had some renown about a decade ago, and I asked him whatever happened to him, and he told me that he was active in another way now, and I said that I said, you know, he was kind of emblematic of the fact that he was a rich kid who went about as far as his daddy's money could take him, and then he reached the level where he gave it up and moved on to something else. And I told him that there's such a gulf where Dale Earnhardt was almost the last of those drivers. Now, that's not completely true. A guy like Tony Stewart didn't come from a privileged upbringing. But I also talked about the fact that, I said, you know, in 1990 or thereabouts, when Days of Thunder came out, we all used to just laugh at how unrealistic it was, because, you know, they had the ex Grand Prix driver with his supermodel wife, and they made the grand entrance into their cars. And I remember thinking at the time, that's like the Indy 500.
Yeah.
Today, I thought that Days of Thunder was kind of like what happens when Hollywood gets its hands on anything. But the truth of the matter is that Days of Thunder has aged well, because the profile of the sort of privileged class of race car drivers, we now seem to more have like the dashing Grand Prix aces instead of the guys who came up on tests on Mill Hill, whose first race car they made by taking an old headboard of a bed, making one of the roll bars.
That's what Pearson did.
Huh?
That's what David Pearson did.
What David Pearson did. That's exactly.
Yep.
You know, 'cause
Yep.
that was one of the legendary stories that I heard. And so today, stock car racing has become more like what back when Speed Channel used to have that show Legends of Motorsports,
Mm-hmm.
and they would have they had a host of
Dick Linden, was that his name?
well, no, the guy I was thinking of was they had an ex-Grand Prix driver named Alain.
Oh, the Cadenet, yes.
And you would begin those stories. They'd begin, and they would be talking about the Targa Florio of 1956. He would come on and he'd say, yes, all the Titans here for the great road race, Hawthorne, Moss, Farina. And so then I remember one time they had the show, and usually they had another host, but on this one thing, the Cadenet was hosting it when they showed a stock car race from Atlanta. And Cale Yarborough won it. And when it was over, they showed the victory lane scene and the kissing of the beauty queen. And then it went off. Alan Cadenet came on and said, yes, those good old boys racing with their sunglasses on. I said, I can't help but think that that's a lot more appropriate now, because we sort of have these dashing sportsmen. I mean, all the stock car drivers of today, all they sometimes they look as if they maybe they should have an ascot on when they do other race cars. I think it's gone from a working class hero sport to more of a sport of the privileged.
Monty, you've been around, and you were around as I was back when they went from long wheelbase to short wheelbase cars. They went to the car tomorrow, and now they've gone to the Gen 6. Do you see a great deal of appreciable difference in a Gen 6 car, how it behaves, and in a car of tomorrow and how it behaved up until last November at Homestead? Aren't they pretty much, did you see much at Bristol that said to you, this is a better race car?
Well, I think you have to be pleased with what you can get. I do think they look more attractive. There's some brand identity, but no, I think the NASCAR of today, the reason that they get so upset is that, and I actually think it's one of the reasons that they have a sort of stormy relationship with riders like you and me, is because we just can't be depended upon to stay on message. They think that basically NASCAR today thinks that they can market sand to Arabs. They can convince the nomads of the Sahara that they need more sand, and so they I remember. You remember? By the way, this is typical. You remember when the COT first came out?
Oh yeah.
And they unveiled it, and they sent out a fact sheet that claimed that the car had more measurements in common with the passenger car than the previous car.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with all due respect, Jose Feliciano could see that wasn't true. And so now they got really upset when the COT came out, because Kyle Busch won the first race, and he said that the car sucked.
Mm-hmm.
And so now...
And got away with it.
See, now this new one came out, and they had the sport has been slumping, and so they put a lot of money into redesigning this new car, and their basic attitude is that we will not put up with any dissent, And I actually think it just goes to show how wrong they are, because I'm just convinced that about 95% of the fans could see right through that. It was a terrible, disastrous thing when they find Denny Hamlin. By the way, one of the things that happened there was, Hamlin said that the car wasn't much better than the car before it when it first got started out. Well, it's pretty obvious based on the first three races that that's true. Frankly, when you get the short tracks, they could, I think that the larger the track, this car was designed for intermediate track, and so, the first three races were relatively unspectacular. Now, they're going to get better, I don't doubt. I don't think, Rome wasn't made in a day. I think people will agree, will But I mean, I don't think that there's anything really fundamentally different, because they basically just, by the way, they didn't really have to go this, because if this car is a COT with more brand identity, there was no reason that they had to make the previous cars generic. They could have made them safe, without them being generic. The fact is that at that time, NASCAR's attitude was, we're tired of fooling with trying to make all these cars equal, so we'll make them identical. It'll be a lot simpler. Well, some people, some voices in the wilderness, including present company, called them on that. And so now they want it to be entirely different. The whole notion of Gen 6 is ridiculous anyway. I mean, when you look at how they judge that, something like 1949 to 1965 was Generation 1.
Let me ask you a quick question about that, Monty. As long as you covered the sport, and you were there with me in many a media center press box, did you ever hear the term Gen 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5?
The first idea is the fact that the 1967 Ford Fairlane didn't have that much in common with the 1951 Hudson Hornet. I mean, I'm talking about in terms of showroom to where it was based on a show. I mean, it's true that in 1965 they had cars that were production based, but I mean, there were a whole lot of it from the strictly stock notion of 1949. That ought to have been the first generation, that first 1 year, so they started allowing to actually use parts that weren't stock. So it actually, this whole marketing ploy of what was, they get, something like 20 years over the same car. Then we went to a car for a few more years, then a few less, and then now they're changing every few years. That whole thing is ludicrous. It's basically something that's oversimplified by people that don't know very much about the history to begin with. And so I know that some people think Gen 6, what a brilliant title. To me, it sounds like a brand new hair conditioner.
Yeah, oh yeah. Let me ask you this now. We've got a little time, a few minutes left. Again, you've been around forever. You've seen drivers come and go. How do you swallow and digest the Danica Patrick phenomenon?
Oh, geez.
Or do you?
Well, I think that at the risk of seeming immodest, I think I've been about as right on Danica Patrick as anyone, because I think that much of journalism today is grounded in what they perceive to be, hits on the website or clicks on the internet or the Twitter feed. And so basically, Danica Patrick, people are interested in her, and so we have to write everything about her despite the fact that her performance has not been good. I actually think that the interesting thing about Danica Patrick is she's gotten opportunities that no one else would have, because I can think of dozens of so many people who've come up and had a brief chance at the big time, didn't do very well, and disappeared. Now, so Danica Patrick has gotten better and adjusted, and I think that she's made progress, but the notion that you can finish in the nationwide series higher in the points than three people who ran every race, each of whom had equipment nowhere in the ballpark she was in, an average of 19th place finish with top flight equipment, and then come to a much higher level. If you don't think the Cubs are higher level, then look at the ease at which Kyle Busch wins in every other level. I mean, I think it defies belief that she can become a contender as a rookie in Cup when she hasn't done particularly well leading up to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a sense, it's unfair to her, but it's not fair because this is a woman who has always, no disrespect to her, she's made her career based on being able to market herself. And she's important in NASCAR because she's a woman, and there hasn't been a prominent woman, because she's in Super Bowl commercials, because she's in racy ads, and because she is a creation of marketing as opposed to a creation of ability. Now, she has gotten better, but I think it's interesting to say, what if Boston Reed had 3 full years in top flight equipment? What if David Steele, by the way, a great example, what if Casey Atwood had these kind of opportunities? Do you reach the old term, the Peter principle? where everyone rises to their level of incompetence.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a case of that, or would other people have had an opportunity had people had the patience with him? You remember also back in about when I first started covering racing, when you used to hear that what's wrong with IndyCar racing is that you don't get a job because you're good. You get a job because you bring money. And IndyCar racing, it used to be said, is loaded down with foreign drivers because they all bring sponsorship with them. Gee, what does that sound like now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Monty, listen, we're a little bit short on time tonight, but I want to ask you a favor. We want you to call back soon, and I want you to talk about your books and your music.
Okay.
Because that is an important part of your life.
Well, it's a very important part of my life now.
Oh, I know it. I know it as well as anybody. But maybe not next Wednesday night, but the week after, we might have you call in and we'll talk about books. We just got an email from one of your readers. Terry O'Connell says, "Tell Monty hi. He's my favorite writer in the sport." And she asked, "Did you finish her book?"
Yes, I read her book.
Oh, okay. So Terry's, is she on the line, Roger?
She's sending me stuff back through Facebook and
okay,
stuff. So.
Yeah.
Well,
But, she calls you her favorite writer in the sport, which makes me feel like crap. But anyway.
I got one question for you.
In my hometown, they that's like when you buy one of those little badges that you can get a little bit off on your cup of coffee if you wear a bucket vest.
I got one question for you, Mr. Dutton, and it was something that Al and I talked about earlier, and it's about the attendance at the racetrack at Bristol this weekend. I wasn't there, but from what I saw, it did not look good.
No, it didn't look good.
And you and Al are probably two of the best writers I've ever, that I ever read what they had to say. So I take what you say is pretty good meaning here. What do you think NASCAR has to do to get these people back? Or do you think it's because of all these cars, the Gen 6 and the statement of the Denny Hamlin, don't talk bad about it? Are these things that are taken away from the NASCAR, whatever they're doing?
Well, let me just, I'll try to be as quick as I can on this, because first of all, certainly the economy plays a role, but, when the Arab oil embargo happened in the 70s, gas by inflation, adjusting for inflation, was as high as it is now. There's been certainly, I think that part of NASCAR's problem, that whether it's the COT or whatever, is the sport just got out of style for the marginal fans that they went after. I think that they tried so hard to bring in people who were fans of other sports that they, first, number one, alienated their core base. As well as everybody who reads his email knows how many people say it's not like it used to be. But because they tried to change the sport to get everybody. When Brian France became president of NASCAR, he basically talked and he wasn't kidding about, running the NFL out of business. Well, I think that among the young, I just know this from just when I'm talking to people in town, when I'm sitting on same people who 10 years ago said, "You cover NASCAR? Oh my God, I love NASCAR." Now they say, I used to like that, but I don't even watch it anymore. And I think part of that, you can't be the hula hoop forever. And so I think that the sport has gotten out of style. And I think when I look at Bristol, I really believe this. When I knew Bristol was in trouble was when I arrived at the racetrack 2 years ago on the morning, and I looked out the back window and all those campsites that had been packed, that the place was that the hills were empty.
That's exactly the first clue I got, Monty, over the weekend. The campground was empty.
I'm pretty sure that the people who are missing in Bristol are the people who were camping there, not the people who with all the padded motel rooms. And so I think that the fan base of the true believers is getting older, and they've just decided that we'll have a temp out at the house and watch on high-definition TV. And what the sport needs is not rich people who have all the money in the world. What the sport needs is people who go out there and camp for 3 days. They need a brand new band of partiers. And I think that that's really what's missing. I think that, Bristol used to be a place. I mean, in some ways, Bristol didn't have twice as many hotel rooms, and they were $50 a night 10 years ago. You know, I think that the fan base is getting older, and the people who were going to 10 races a year are going to 2. And part of it's because TV's better, and part of it's because it's so expensive. But that's what I think the problem is myself.
Okay. Monty, listen, thanks for calling in. I know you're probably watching basketball at home, watching the tournament, but I appreciate your time. And we truly would love to have you call back, or we'll call you one night and talk about your book and your music, and maybe you can tell us about some of your book signings, if any of them are in this area. I'd love to get you to come to Newport News or Hampton and go to a Barnes & Noble and sign books and play music. That'd be fun.
Well, that's what I think sets me apart. These book signings I've been having lately. I promise you that even though my current novel is about a singer-songwriter who becomes a reluctant hero, I'm never going to go to a book signing without my guitar again.
That's the way it should be.
I really help.
And someday we got to do that train ride from Fort Worth to Phoenix, and you sit in a lounge car for 2 days and play music.
I hope so, but I've got to make a living some other way.
I know it.
Well, maybe you can book a gig.
Yeah. Listen, if I can help you, let me know. And when I come down through Clinton to go to Atlanta in April, we'll stop in and have lunch.
All right. Thanks a lot, Al.
Thanks, Monty. Appreciate your time.
Okay, bye.
Let me tell you what, boys. He's a great writer. He's an absolutely great writer. And a great songwriter, and not a great singer, but he knows that. But he
have fun at it.
He writes his own music and has fun at it. Good guy.
Now, I noticed we talked about this earlier. Did y'all get a chance to go over with him? You know, because I noticed you were talking about old stuff, differentials, and everything else, about the high-end cost of everything to go to some of the races.
No. Excuse me. Once he gets on a roll, it's kind of hard to break in. But let me just make this point that Jack and I were talking about earlier. If a hotel in Bristol can double or triple its price from Thursday night to Friday night and Saturday night and require a 3-night minimum, why can't the gas station across the street go from $3.50 a gallon to $7 a gallon or $12 a gallon? Why come the Longhorn or the Outback or the Ruby Tuesday in Bristol can't put out a whole new menu on race weekend saying that the crab cakes and mashed potatoes that normally cost $13 are now going to cost $30? Well, hotels can do it, and nobody complains.
I will say this: I have noticed, in some places, cost of gas. I have seen them jump up by as much as maybe. Granted, it's not much, but 2 days before, when I was in Knoxville, Iowa for the Knoxville Nationals, I got there early. Gas prices was this. When everybody started filtering in, it jumped up 10 or 20 cents a gallon.
Well, that's less than 10%, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's granted it's a small spike, but granted the
hotels
are raping
hotels
you.
Can go.
You don't even get a kiss.
I mean, I stayed at a motel in Dover last October or September. I paid, I think, $62 a night. It's 12 miles from the racetrack. And that same room for June this year coming up is more than doubled. Well, it's the same room.
Yeah. It's
the same property. It's still 12 miles to the racetrack. And they've gone from 62 to close to 200. Well, you know, thank God the gas station across the street not charging $9 per gallon. You know, why can't the Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel people jack up the toll to $22 instead of whatever it is?
$8. Or has it gone up since then?
Whatever it is.
I don't remember.
But hotels can get away with it. Nobody else can.
Yeah, I mean, they talk about price gouging on all this other stuff, especially when bad weather comes through. And
well, when I was trying to get room at Bristol, just a couple weeks ago, or maybe a little bit longer than that, they were over $200.
Oh yeah.
For a $40 room.
Yeah, for a room that if you go back on a regular weekend, I could get $50, $60, but it's $200 for race weekend. You know,
and
like a lot of people are not going to pay. People are not going to pay that.
They apparently they are.
Well, some do. Some you will have some, but that also is the reason why you don't see all them people at Bristol. I have to say that has to be a lot of it, and a lot of the fact that it's just hard to do the same things you did with the economy like it is.
And speaking of crab cakes and restaurants, it's time for us to go.
What? Not sushi tonight, Al?
I might. Yeah, I might. We might change. Might even go to the pizza place.
Yeah, I haven't had pizza in a while. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for watching the show and listen to us have our fun.
You don't say that. You don't say I'd like to thank everybody. You just thank them.
Okay, well maybe
why do you say
I'd
like to thank you all for being here?
Thanks for listening, y'all, and watching. Come back next week.
Thank you for being here.
Not, you're in trouble. Al, we're going to send Al after you.
We'll have another special guest next Wednesday night.
Next week you can say the goodbye thing. How's that?
Hey guys, I'm Daytona 500 winner Trevor Bain, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Racing.
Hi, I'm Robert Richardson Jr., driver of the number 23 Dodge Challenger for R3 Motorsports in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, and you're watching Let's Talk Racing.
I'm Timothy Peters, driver of the number 17 Toyota in the NASCAR Camp World Truck Series, and you're listening to Let's Talk Racing.
Here's your 2011 champion, David Brehm.
Hi, this is David Polens, driver of the 33 NASCAR Late Model, 2011 Old Dominion Speedway track champion. Thank you for watching Let's Talk Racing TV.
I'm Sam Hunt, driver 42 car on the thing Let's Talk Racing.
Hi, my name is Natalie Sather. I drive the 94 K&N Lady Eagle Safety Wear, Butler Built Seats, Bell Helmets, Hooker Harness Seatbelts, number 94 at South Boston Speedway. Be sure to listen to Let's Talk Racing